Hello Flosstube, and welcome to my first video of 2024. Oh dear, you can hear already. I've not really had a cold, but I have had a bad cough for the last few days, and my voice is still a little bit all over the place. So I will try and do not so much screaming and keep it under control. I have got a cup of tea with me. I'm filming this at a time when I do not normally film. It's 10 to 9 in the morning. I was hoping there might be enough daylight that you wouldn't then have to have the light and all the shadows, but it's not light enough for that. Anyway, yes, so it is, I mean, it's not super early, it's 10 to 9, but I don't normally film at this time in the morning, and I was like, maybe that'll be better light, and clearly it's not. So I apologise for that. Anyway, sorry, I should have said welcome. Welcome to Ros Clark Craft. I'm Ros Clark. This is my home in real life. This is my home on YouTube. I'm also Ros Clark Craft on Instagram and in my Etsy shop. So we have a lot of things to talk about today, and I've got to try and be relatively brief. Partly because I do have to go out, but also because uploading long videos is becoming increasingly difficult on my poor internet. So if we can keep it to an hour, that would be excellent. We will see. I have got quite a long list, although it's going to be quicker than I thought, because the first thing on my list was that I was going to say, and here's a video I carefully took before I sent out my Smalls Exchange and Pay It Forward gifts before Christmas. Insert video. Yeah, can't find the video anywhere. And I think so. It is December the 3rd. There is a lot of snow outside, and I just wanted to do this short video, which I will be inserting in some later Flosstube. So I don't know when you're watching this. Also, my dog just walked over the camera stand, which is why it's all wobbly, to show you the things that I have made that I'm about to post tomorrow for various different exchanges and swaps and the like. So I've got 4 things that I'm quite excited about. I'm going to start with one that I think I have shown you before, although I don't think I showed you. I don't think I told you that actually it was for somebody else. So that's this spool, and I'm going to take off the counting pin that I've just used to hold it together. And so I've stitched this sort of samplery ribbon, different patterns that go together. I've sewn some lace on the back. I've stitched it together so that it's permanently attached to this spool, which you can then put a pin through sort of however far along you want, really, to hold it in place. Let me just see. I can show you that. There we go. I'm trying to, there we go. And then the bit of the pin that goes on the bottom holds that in place. And I bought this spools this size specifically so that they would be just the right size for a little embroidery scissor holder. And I've just tied a little bit on the scissors using this kind of measuring tape ribbon. So that's red. And I've also done, ta-da, blue. I haven't got a blue pin, but I don't know. I think the blue is quite bluey green. It is, the red one was licorice red. I can't remember what the blue colour was that I used. But I'm pretty sure it's another classic Colourworks, and it has got a sort of greenish blue to it, and so it's the same principle but a different design. These are just little sampler motifs that I sort of put together, and really enjoyed that. I think it's maybe 16 stitches wide. I was wondering, I've got the rose ribbon pattern and the butterfly ribbon pattern. I was just wondering about releasing a sort of sampler ribbon pattern that would include, I guess, all of these designs that you could then sort of mix and match. They're all sort of based on the idea that they've got diagonal joins, so they're very easy to sort of mix and match between them. And again, ooh, that's a bit tighter, little scissors and little measuring tape ribbon. So those two are off to different permanent homes after having been with me, well, one of them for a while and the other not quite as long. So then I have two Christmas ones. So let me show you this one first. This says, Happy Christmas, dear Christmas tree. Little sort of, I think slightly bauble themed border at the bottom. So this is one of my classic Pringles can finishes. The inside is just lined with paper. Looks like there's a little bit in the corner that, oh, let's see if I can find it again. Yeah, where the paper hasn't quite set. I might just go in and fix that, and paper on the bottom. This was because I had already stitched the design, rather than designing it to the size of the Pringles can, I forced myself to buy a big packet of Pringles and then cut it down and sort of sanded it just to smooth because the cutting wasn't the neatest. Covered it with the paper. I have literally no idea where this came from, but it was in my craft desk and I thought it would work with that sort of dark green. The stitching doesn't quite go all the way around, so I found some of this Christmassy sort of Hessian that I interfaced and put underneath, and that's also where the seam is. And then I had this old gold sort of sari silk ribbon, and I just used that at the top and the bottom to sort of cover the edges and tie bows in the back. So it's intended to look quite rustic, and I've got sort of, you know, it's a pot, so I thought, well, I'll put that in that I found that I thought was quite nice. But obviously you could also, you know, use whatever you want in there really. It might even work well, I'm not sure I'm going to do this, but if you put a little bit of Oasis, you know, flower arranging stuff in the bottom, you could get a sort of higher thing and make quite a nice arrangement in that. The design, the deer and the tree and the stars and the bauble, although, well, I'll tell you what I did to it, but all of that part of the design comes from Mary Corbett, who runs the Needle N thread, Needle thread, not Needle and Thread blog. She mostly posts about surface embroidery and has some amazing resources there, patterns and extraordinary tutorials for like every kind of embroidery stitch you could think of. And so I was quite surprised when I was sort of doing a search and I was looking for Christmas patterns, cross-stitch patterns, that this came up from her blog. And so she had charted it as a gridded design to use on you know, maybe a table runner or whatever. I thought, well, I really like that. She had done it monochrome, so I have added the colours and in particular for this bit here made them more bauble-esque. I feel like maybe there was another line under there or something, I can't remember. I feel like there was something I missed out at the bottom of it, and then I also just charted the Happy Christmas to be the same width to go around the top. So I do feel like it's not absolutely primitive, but it's that sort of understated. And so that's why I thought actually this sort of primitive ribbon and the sort of Hessian, it's got a little bit of glitter, but it, you know, it does feel like quite a rustic kind of finish. And I thought that was quite nice. Yeah, so there we go. That is my first one, Christmassy one that's going out. And then this one, I love this. I really love this. So this is from Hello from Liz Matthews. I do have a little bit of a beef to grind. I do love Hello from Liz Matthews. I love her designs, a lot of them. I love her videos. I've stitched several of her designs and really enjoyed them. The little beef I have is that when she does releases, she always says, I've got this many new releases. And I look at them and I'm like, I've seen half of those before. And I wish she would just say, actually, it's not a new release, but it's no longer an exclusive release, because this came out in Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher a year ago. And I had earmarked it as something I wanted to do for the Smalls Exchange. And so then I was slightly taken aback to find in one of her recent videos her going, and I've got this new release. And I'm like, well, I've already got that. You know, it just is less than... you just feel a bit deflated, I think. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to say this thing which was only available in magazine or an exclusive kit or whatever is now widely available. But if you tell me it's a new release, I'm going to be like, oh, what is it? And then I'll be like, oh, okay, well, got that already. Anyway, having said that, I really love this chart. I, as usual, didn't stitch it exactly as she charted it. Some deliberate and some less deliberate alterations I made. The biggest thing I did is because I wanted to stitch it on this dark green background. Obviously, I changed some of the colours. I stitched this using paint box threads, pearl cotton. Number 12 pearl cotton, maybe. I can't remember, 12 weight, 8 weight. Sort of very similar weight to sulky thread. And I'd bought a pack of theirs in Christmas colours. I think it was called the Holly and the Ivy. Like maybe 8 or 10 colours earlier this year. So I wanted to use those for some Christmas stitching. And they were just lovely to stitch with on this. So they're all the threads that you can see are from that pack. And so I used a red, 2 greens, a gold and a silver. I added in these little doodads above the penny border at the top and below at the bottom, and I slightly changed what I did with the colours on the bells a little bit. And then I also, just to really make it stand out, I used the silver just to do this sort of highlight outliney bit on the lettering, and I just love it. I just think it's worked out so perfectly. And so it's just a simple flat finish, ornament finish, with a little bit of mini pom-pom trim and a ribbon hanger. And that will be going out to somebody else soon as well. As I say, I'm filming this on December the 3rd. I will be going to the post office tomorrow, unless we get a lot more snow. But at the moment, snow looks like it is melting. So I think that should be fine. Hopefully when you see this, I don't know. I hope that most, if not all, of the recipients will have had them before they see this. But I also think with a number of these, even if people were watching the video, they would not know it was coming to them, if you see what I mean. So I might not wait until I've literally heard back from all 4 recipients, particularly given what the post can be like. I really hope it's in time for both the Christmas ones to arrive before Christmas. The others, they're not specifically Christmas exchanges, but it would be good if they arrived this year rather than next. Good. So those are my secret stitching that I've been doing. Let me know what you think about the sampler ribbon, whether that's worth making that up into a little chart and sticking that in the Etsy shop. I think I might. I've got a few things, well, sort of at the time of filming, I've got a few things that I'd like to get into the Etsy shop, things that have been in magazines and other sort of exclusive releases. So I might include that one as well. Some little things that will be there later this month. I'm going to stop now. I don't know what it is my dog has found that he's tearing apart very loudly, but I think I had better go and investigate. Right, that's fully finishes. Things that I received in those exchanges. Let me do that before I forget. So there were obviously other things in the packages, but I'm just going to show you. Oh dear, I think I might have lost a bit from one of them. I'm just going to show you the stitching things. I think I might have shown this one before, but just in case. This is Heap Up the Holly. This was stitched for me by the lovely Chloe, Girl with the Gavel Stitches. And it's super cute. And I display that with the piece that I got last year in the Stitch in London Smalls Exchange, which was stitched for me by Noreen, in fact. And they both have holly in them, and that's what makes me... Well, they both have holly and they both have birds in them. She stitched for me at lovely Robin last year. This has got glittery thread, and it's got... I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can just about see the glitter on the holly, and super cute little bird, and beautiful, beautiful Liberty fabric on the back with that. Look at that lovely deer on the back. I really like that. So thank you very much for that. Obviously, it's just a little pillow finish that she's done. It's lovely. And then I got this, and this is from the Across the Pond Stitch Exchange. And I don't remember exactly what was in the sign-up form, but I think there might have been a thing about what sort of theme do you like. And I think I might have been in my real Grinch Scrooge mode. I think I might have just said, anything so long as it's not Christmas. Because this is what I got. And this is certainly not Christmas, and it's very fun. So this was from, I want to say Kay, but it's not Kay, it's Carrie. Oh, that's so bad. I opened it several weeks ago before Christmas, and now it's disappeared in the vortex between Christmas and New Year. Anyway, I have emailed her to say thank you, and I will check. I think I've got an Instagram handle, so I'll put that below as well. But anyway, thank you very much for stitching this for me. Now, I will admit, my first thought when I looked at this was, but why has she put all this underwater stuff on a stitch of some birds? Anyway, they're not birds, obviously. They are fish. You can see that with the little bubbles going up from them. And let's put that there, and hopefully you can see that. Obviously, they're very stylized and very sweet, and they are by Doreen Jones. And she has dyed the fabric herself. It's 14 Cat Lady that she's used a rip dye of denim, and I love how it's got that sort of variegated blue to it. And I love that she's just had so much fun with the finish. It's on a little easel, so it stands up, and then obviously it's got all this sort of underwater coral and pebbles, and oh dear, I have to stop touching it because I am destroying it even as we speak. But anyway, I really love that she's just gone completely outside the box on this, and I love all the colours, and I love the little fish. It's adorable. I don't think I have any stitched fish at the moment, so that's really sweet. So those are the things that I received. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. What have we got next? Some finished objects. I've got finished objects. Well, I've got one. Yeah, I've got one. And one that I can show you anyway. So I did show this if you were at my Christmas live, but it was lovely. Thank you for joining if you did on Christmas Day. I never expect that there'll be loads of people there because obviously quite a lot of people have things that they're doing on Christmas Day. But we had a steady flow of people come, and it was just really nice to have a sort of hour out of the day that was different. Anyway, and so this was my version of the Evertaupe Roxy Flosco Modern Folk Embroidery Holiday Countdown. So, and I seem incapable of showing this without, there we go. I think that might be the best. I had the full box. So I had all the thread and the paper charts and the needle minder and all the stuff that came with it. I love how there is just occasional random sweeties. And I have stitched more or less, I was going to say I've stitched the chart as charted, but I haven't. I've made changes all over the place. So the biggest change that I made after the first 3 or 4 days, I started using the colours differently. So all the colours in here are colours from the box. There was one colour in the box I've not used that was Baker's Block, that is a very, very dark brown, almost black, that I couldn't see where that was going to fit within the way that I'd done this. But I used all the other colours, just not necessarily in the places where they were called for. So that's the first change that I made. The next change that I made was down here. So the little reindeer are as charted. Well, I know they might not be in the right colours as charted. I added the little red dot between them so that my reindeer are Rudolph, obviously, with a red and shiny nose. And then I sort of charted in the bit above and below that something that is sort of vaguely holly reminiscent. So that's my little Christmassy bit, the reindeer and the holly. What else did I change? Oh, I made some little changes actually just in this section. I just felt like there was a bit that felt quite empty. And so I added in an extra little bit of branch and leaf. And I was quite pleased with that. I think it just makes that little section feel like it matches the sort of coverage on the other section. I mean, I just love, it was so fun the day when we got to squirrels and you're like, oh, okay, we got squirrels and then we got dogs and then we got reindeer and, you know, and I mean, it was beautifully charted, but also beautifully calculated by Jacob to be a stitch that had surprises along the way. And I thought that was really, really well done. Because it's quite hard with a piece like this, which is very coherent in its design, to do it in a way that you're still able to give people surprises, that it's not completely predictable from about halfway through, and it really wasn't, and that was lovely. What I also did, and this is the sort of most obvious immediate change, on the wooden ornament that we got in day one, it said Anno 2023 and some motifs, and it was clearly taken from the design of the chart. And quite early on in the days, you were supposed to stitch Anno and 2023, and I just didn't think I necessarily want to do that. I think if you're the sort of person who likes to, you know, track your stitching and know when you stitch things and all of that, it was, you know, beautifully charted, as you'd expect. But it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to include. So I thought, well, I'll just leave it blank, because I can always go back and do that if I decide I do want that. But actually, the more I kept stitching on it, the more it made me think of spring, and the more it made me think of the part of the Bible which is my book of the Bible. That's awful, but it's the book that I did my PhD on, and it's the book that I love above all things. And it talks about there's a beautiful verse: "Arise, my love, come away with me, for the winter is gone and the rain is over, and the turtle doves are singing in the land, and you know, everything's in bloom." And it just reminded me of that. So anyway, I haven't got it written in front of me, so you'll have to go and look it up. But anyway, that's the verse reference for it. Song 2 verse 12 is the Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon. And it just reminded me of that, the fruit and the birds and the flowering and the animals. And it doesn't have squirrels in it, but it has like foxes and deer. Twin deer is quite a big thing. And so that's what I did. So I put that, I charted the song 1212 to go in the bit. It would have said Anno with a little crown in the middle. And then where the 2023 would have been above the birds, I just added in some more leaves and some more fruit to fill that in. I am super thrilled with how this came out. I just love it. And I love that actually, you know, I didn't keep up every single day, but they were very manageable chunks, so that even if you missed a day or two, you didn't feel like you were so far behind you couldn't catch up. And I finished stitching it. I opened it a day early. So I did finish stitching it, I think, on Christmas Eve. And I'm really, really thrilled with it. Now, Michelle from Mama Loves You GB, on one of her last Flosstube videos, she noticed that this chart is exactly the same stitch count as Jacob's new chart, which is called something like With Love. It's the Salentine chart. I will put a picture here. It's exactly the same stitch count. Now, obviously, when I started stitching this, I didn't think, oh, do you know, I'm going to do 2 pieces the same size on here, so I'll divide it up into half. But I think it's going to be really tight, but I've measured it, and I'm pretty sure I can fit that on this same linen. It's turtle dove. It's, I think I got 36 count linen from Roxy Floss Co. And the finish that I have in mind, I do not need much of a margin at all. 1/2 inch will be fine. I do need to make sure I finish the edges so that it doesn't ravel or fray, but I think I can do that. And so I bought the PDF of that, and I plan to stitch it here, and I plan to stitch it using some of the threads from the same box. So that chart is charted for, I don't know, 4 or 5 colours, and mine is going to have 24. But I think they will go together really nicely, and I have a finishing plan for that. So that is on hold for the moment until I finish the other half of it. Good, rattling on through. Works in progress. So this is where I'm going to talk about stitch along. It's very exciting. I launched my first stitch along on Sunday, 31st December, and a number of people are doing it, and it's really exciting. There are 1 or 2 people who finished the first part who've already posted it on Instagram, So that's exciting, and one or two people have been asking about various things, make sure they're doing it right. So I know that they're stitching it as well. I have been stitching it as well. So I have stitched the model. I forgot to take a photo of the first part, but I have been taking photos and not deleting them as I finish each section of that. So I can't show you that one because I haven't got a photo that's only got part one of it. But I am doing a second version with an entirely different colour palette, partly because I really wanted to see how it would look in something completely different, and partly so I could show you something really different, and partly so that I could stitch along. So this is red purple in colourway number 2. I'm stitching this. It's really terrible on the screen. Yeah, that's really not what it looks like in real life. I will try and take a photo with better colour of this and show you. Anyway, I'm stitching it on Flober. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. I guess it would be 18 count. I usually stitch on 18 count, and that feels about right. With 2 strands of floss. It's a mixture this time. The first one I did was all DMC. This is a mixture of DMC and Anchor and Classic Colourworks and Gentle Arts and Roxy Flosscoat, because the yellow that I'm using is Gold Star from the Holiday Countdown calendar. The red purple that I'm using is an Anchor thread, and you can see it's got a very different feel to it from the really vibrant primary colour-ish one that I showed you. If you watch the introduction, I show you the palette that I was using for DMC from that, and this is very different, and I've really enjoyed stitching it again. I know there's a lot of counting in these first few sections. We're putting in a frame. Once the frame is complete, everything gets easier. But I'm trying to give you, and this is why the first few sections are a bit heavier stitching. I'm trying to give you enough frame that mostly what you're doing is counting stitches and not holes. I certainly find that, you know, much easier, and hopefully you do too. So that is part 1, red purple. This is available to download in my Instagram bio, but I will also put the link below. It's also in, and there are going to be 12 of these short little videos introducing each part of the stitch along, and you will also find the download link for each part in those. They may not come out quite on the same day that the part is uploaded to Instagram. So if you're itching to get on with it, that is the best place to check. But I will, as I say, have them on YouTube as we go through as well. So that's whip number 1. Whip number 2, I started this on January the 1st, along with Sally from Flossie Sews and Grows and Sarah from Sew Me Sarah, as part of their Fun for 50 Stitch Along 2024. They are both 50 this year. They are doing 50 starts in 2024 to celebrate that. I will be 50 this year. I'm not doing anything nearly so soon. Do you know, everybody's 50 this year. So yesterday I was watching Just So Sherry. She's 50 this year. I was watching Off the Grid Needle Arts. Caroline's 50 this year. Everyone's 50 this. 1974 was a great year, obviously. Anyway, sorry. This is part of what I'm doing. That is really the wrong colour. It's much less blue toned than that. Anyway, this is Twin Bird Pincushion by Chloe from Girl with the Gavel Stitches, I believe. Well, I think this is now available, or certainly shortly will be, but I think it is now available in her Etsy shop, and I will link below. We had this as a freebie chart at Stitch in London. The original is in beautiful, elegant, refined blues, and my birds are not elegant or refined. I find people are like, oh, that border's so cute. It is really cute. I cannot tell you how many times I made mistakes on this border. When I was at Stitch in London, this is the only thing I worked on. And honestly, I felt like I unstitched more than I stitched the whole weekend. I got about 1 and a bit sides done in 3 days of stitching. I then left it behind. I've restarted it. And as you see, I have finished the top, more or less. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But that border, and it's not, even now, it's fine, and I'm leaving it. I'm absolutely not undoing it. It's not as charted, but I don't care. I just don't care at this point. It's fine. I say not quite finished. There is a charted, a sort of line of cross stitching around, because this is to be made into a mattress pincushion. It's based on an original that Chloe found, original vintage piece. And I do plan to finish it as a mattress pincushion, but I think I'm going to stitch just a line of back stitch around rather than a line of cross stitch around, but I haven't done it yet. So that's my other work in progress that I have actually worked on. Good. We are making good progress through that. Whips, stitch along. I don't think I have anything else to tell you about the stitch along at this point. There's a schedule somewhere on, probably on the introduction video, of when the chart parts are coming out. At this early stage, they're coming out every 2 weeks, so there'll be one next weekend, which will be red, and I'm excited. I started trying to film that yesterday, and I did it too late in the afternoon. The lighting was too bad, so I'm going to try again this afternoon and do that so that you can see what I'm talking about a bit better. But it comes with so the first introduction one came with a little bit of background about one of the artists that has inspired the design. This one is going to come with a little bit more colour theory and a colour exercise for you to try, so I'm excited about that. I think, what have I written down here? Oh, I know, giveaways. So I'm going to talk about giveaways now, and then I'm going to move on. This video, very excitingly, is not just cross stitch. I know. So there's going to be a little bit about quilting, who knew, and a little bit of art with Auntie Roz at the end, which I did film in advance and which I have not deleted. I have checked. So keep listening if you're interested. Keep watching, even if you're interested in any of those things. But before that, I'm going to do some giveaway news. Now, this is very exciting. So we did one giveaway during the Christmas live, and that is a giveaway of the chart, the needle minder, and enough of the floss from the holiday countdown that you could stitch it yourself. So the floss, we got a full skein of each colour. Obviously, that's 25 skeins, of which we used we had like between 200 and 300 stitches from each colour. There is a lot of floss left. So as I said, I have a plan to stitch another of Jacob's pieces using the same colours, but there is still loads for someone who might want to stitch the holiday countdown themselves. So I've made a little floss card with all the colour names and symbols and attached enough of the floss that whether you want to stitch it with 1 strand or 2 strands, whatever count you're doing, you should have more than enough. And if you don't, get back to me and I can send you extra, but you should have loads and loads and loads of it. And I said I would send that to the winner of that giveaway, and that was, I checked after the live, it shows me all the comments. The keyword was Jacob. I cannot now remember how many people used the keyword, but I did a little random thing, and the winner is Linda Glover. So congratulations, Linda. I'm thrilled that it was someone who is a regular viewer and commenter and has been for a long time on the channel. So do send me your postal address and I will happily get that out to you. I think you're on Instagram, and if so, that's probably the easiest way, is to send me a private message there. But if you're not, leave a note in the comment here and I will tell you how to send me your address without putting it on the internet for the entire world to see. So Linda, that's lovely. But obviously the other exciting thing that happened was that I hit 500 subscribers. It happened before Christmas, and I did say I was going to do a giveaway, and I am going to do a giveaway. I just couldn't get my head around it before Christmas. But I have been sort of saving up a little stash of things that I wanted to use for this giveaway. So let me tell you what they are. It's one giveaway. All of this is going to one person. And I'm afraid, given all my postage woes, I am going to say I'm only going to send this in the UK, and I'm really sorry about that. But it is I sort of didn't plan it like this, but it has become a little collection of things from UK small businesses, and I really want to support them, and I really, yeah. So it feels okay to me that this is a UK only giveaway, but I do promise that there will be international giveaways in the future. So what do you get? Well, this is the first thing that you get. You get this. So I made this earlier in the year. This is Yasmin's Made with Love, Tulips and Stars. This is the one that I stitched while she was training for and running the London Marathon. It's a design which is now available in her Etsy shop, but I think also in print form. So you could check your local cross-stitch shop and see if they have Yasmin's charts in stock and ask them if they can get this one. I think it's still Tulips and Stars, but there's also one that's very similar, and it might be the same but just in different colours, called Kaleidoscope. I'm not sure. Check those out. Mine is not perfect, as usual. I stitched it, so there are mistakes, but I really love it. I stitched it in various variegated sulky threads on maybe 16, maybe 18 count Ada, something like that. And I really loved how it came out. And I made it into this project bag. This is a tea towel. Let me show you the back so you can see the fabric better. Tea towel that I bought at the K Facet exhibition at the Fashion and Textiles Museum. K Facet, amongst many other things, wonderful fabric designer for quilting. And so this is not patchwork, this is just printed with a number of his fabric designs to look like patchwork. And I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And then as soon as I put this stitched piece with this fabric, they just seem to sing together. So it's a good size. Like the stitch piece, excuse me, the stitch piece is about an A4 size. And so I think that's right. I think the project bag is, it's not exactly A3, but it's that sort of size. It's a good big size for a good big project. And I found some of the stuff, I think it's called Bosal, isn't it, that Elizabeth Hankin Stitch uses in her project bags. My Hobbycraft had a bag of it just randomly early in the year, and I'm like, oh, do you know, I'm going to try that. So it's made with that, so it's really sturdy. You know, it will stand up on a shelf on its own. It's not flopping. I mean, you know, it will go backwards, but it's not flopping over on itself. So it'd be really good, I think, for a big project. Now, I will say, I am not a professional project bag maker. I recently sent project bags to Flossie Sews and Grows and Sew Me Sarah for their 50-year project. And they will tell you I am not a professional bag maker. Theirs are quite wonky. This is less wonky than many things that I make, but, you know, it's not straight. It's not perfect. You could not sell this. The zip is completely functional, but also a bit wobbly. The hand stitching on the back where I put the binding on is perfectly fine, but yeah. Do not enter this giveaway expecting a professional quality project bag, because you will not get one. What you will get is something that is personal, that is hand stitched and hand sewn. But it is, you know, the zip works perfectly well. It's fully lined with this lovely print. I think this is Dashwood Studio. It's all bright colours, which is what you'd expect from me. And yeah, I think it will hold together perfectly fine. And if it doesn't, you can claim back the no money that you spent on it. So there are a couple of other things in here that you will also be getting. You will be getting a set of 10 acrylic flower floss drops. These are from Kate Blandford. I've bought several sets of things from Kate Blandford in 2023. They're really great quality and they're really lovely design. And when I placed one of those orders, she sent me twice as many of these as I had ordered. And so I got in touch with her and said, look, you know, can I send these back to you? And she said, oh, no, keep them. I said, well, if I keep them, I'm going to use them for a giveaway. So that is what I have done. So thank you so much, Kate, for providing these. I'm going to take one out so you can see. They're acrylic and they're sort of, I guess, laser cut. I don't really know how these things work. and it's a sort of frosted yellow. In fact, let me see, is that, yeah, let's try it against that. Yeah, that's not a bad colour, frosted yellow. So they've got obviously the hole for the floss ring and the thread. These are not ones she has. You can check out her shop, and again I will put a link for that below. She has some very sophisticated designs for bobbins and floss drops, where you can do things like put in the little tube from the DMC thread, so you've got the number stored there, and you know, all sorts of things. So these are, I guess, at her more basic end, but I like that they're quite little. They absolutely do the job, and they're super cute. So you get 10 of those anyway. So not enough for a, you know, enormous project, but quite a you know, enough for some things. And then the final thing that you get is this chart from Cosford Rise Stitchery. So I was lucky enough to be on a table with Kelly from Cosford Rise Stitchery at Stitch in London. And as table gifts, she gave us all a printed copy of this chart, and it's absolutely lovely. It says happy, and you've got this lovely snowman and the trees and the robin, and it, you know, it's super cute. In fact, what are there? There are 3 snowmen and trees and a little mini squirrel and whatever. And I don't know if you can see, it does have charted a jolly, happy soul. Now, you totally, I think, could stitch this and leave off a jolly soul and just have it say happy, or you could include that and the whole thing is a jolly, happy soul. I think it's a really sweet, wintry stitch, I'm going to say. But it's probably not something that I personally would stitch. And so again, I thought, you know, that would make a really lovely thing to give away. And again, Cosford Rise Stitchery, small, independent UK business, as is Yasmin's Made with Love, as is Kate Blanford Designs. So that is my 500 subscriber giveaway. And like I said, I'm really sorry. I am only going to send this out within the UK this time. So what are you going to use as a word? So I do want you to be a subscriber, and I will check. I am strict. I was a teacher many, many years ago, and you know, I think my reputation was for being quite a strict teacher. So if you win and you're not a subscriber, I will check and I will be choosing somebody else. So please subscribe. That's the easy way around that. Obviously, you need to be 18. You need to be able to give me your postal address, and please don't use, obviously, all the stuff that attracts the spammers and the scammers, you know, winner and giveaway and all that palaver. What do you need to say to win this prize? I think what I want you to say, this design is tulips and stars, so please use the word tulips. Tulips. Do you know, I was watching Just So Sherry yesterday, and she was spelling out all the words that she wanted people to include, and I thought that was hilarious. So I'm going to spell it out for you in case you don't know how to spell the word tulips. It's Tulips, and I will be choosing a winner and announcing it in my next normal Flosstube. So it won't be the celebration of colour stitch along video that will come out next weekend. It will be hopefully the weekend after that, when I can do another normal Flosstube. I will announce the winner of the giveaway. Good. Right, that is all the cross stitching. I'm going to talk about quilting. I don't normally talk about quilting, and the reason I want to talk about quilting is because I actually want to do some this year. So I thought I'd get out my 2 quilting works in progress and show them to you, and have a proper, you know, get my hands on them and remind myself that I do love them and I want to finish them, and see how far I've got with them and talk about that. So I've got 2, one that is further than the other. So this is not very far. How many? I've got 3 blocks made. In my defense, these are quite complicated blocks. So this is the Regent Street pattern. I cannot now remember the name of the designer of this pattern, but I will put it in the description. And I am stitching it, quilting it, piecing it, patchworking it, whatever, sewing it, using the Curiouser and Curiouser range from Tula Pink. I think the polka dot may not be from the range. I think I also bought some of her sort of basics do that. So, but you can see this sort of grey one with the things in it. It's got rabbits and bottles and that's the thing. The pink flowery one is definitely from the range. So that's one. That's two. These are not quick blocks to piece. I've done all the cutting, which was a job and a half. And as you see, I've seen these three. I do love them. And I've wanted a Union Jack quilt. So, you know, you will know if you've been following my cross stitching, I do love the Union Jack as a design pattern thing. It's not particularly a sort of jingoistic national pride kind of thing. I just think it's a really lovely, strong statement. And years ago, I went to a quilting exhibition at the V&A. It was absolutely brilliant. I still remember so much of it so clearly. One of the things they had there, one of the more contemporary quilts they had there, was a Union Jack quilt made out of Liberty fabrics. And it was, I mean, it was stunning. I still have I bought a postcard of it, quite, you know, sort of big postcard of it, that I still have up on the wall in my sewing room. And I've wanted to make one ever since. And obviously it's not Liberty fabric, but I love Tula Pink fabric. And I just thought, actually, there's something very British about Alice in Wonderland. So that seemed like a good mix of things to include there. You can see this fabric, which I've got in two colorways, with the sort of shadow on it. You know, you can start to see that. But there are other fabrics that have got much more, obviously, Alice and the Queen of Hearts and all sorts of things on it. So I do want to get on with that. I'd love to think, well, so one of the big exciting things that's happening for me in 2024 is that I have a 3-month sabbatical. I know. I can't believe how privileged I am to have that, but I do. I work in the kind of job where a sabbatical is not an unusual thing. My boss had one 3 or 4 years ago. It was the most stressful 3 months of my life. And the main thing I learned was I never want to do his job. And so a couple of years ago, we started talking about whether I could have a sabbatical. And he was like, yeah, obviously you should have a sabbatical. I'm like, okay. And he was like, well, what about 2024? And I'm like, okay. And so we worked out some dates. There's some fixed things that, you know, I can't really miss. And we came up with April, May and June. And then a few days later, I'm like, I'm going to be 50. In April 2024, and I'm going to be in the middle of a 3-month holiday. It's not a holiday, it's a sabbatical. There is a difference, and maybe I'll talk a bit more about that nearer the time. But anyway, one of the things I'd love to do then, because this project, I need to be, one of the reasons I've not made a lot of progress on it, I can't do it when I'm tired. I have to be really able to focus because it's quite complicated. I may have mentioned that. It's quite complicated. So I just haven't had the headspace to do it really for the last year or so. But I'm really hoping that maybe I can focus on that for a week or two during the sabbatical and make some real progress with those blocks. The other project, I don't really have that excuse because I don't need to be able to think about it at all. It's a very simple strip piece. So I've got 8-inch square, 8-inch squares cut from waste fabric, and then I just sew strips diagonally across. There's quite a lot that are in the blues, all sorts of fabrics. Mostly these are quilting cottons, but as long as it's a sort of vaguely lightweight fabric that fits within that, it's fine. So this gingham, for example, is not really a quilting cotton, but I've included it anyway. Yeah. And then some, which are triangles where half of it is a different colour. And there are various ways that I could put these together, but I think I'm going to try and make maybe zigzags or maybe diamonds of the other colours. So it was a sort of, I put all my quilting fabrics, all my scrap quilting fabrics into colour coordinated bags. and started cutting them into strips. And so it's very easy. It's all there. And I really can do these in, you know, 10 or 15 minutes a block and get through. So I have done quite a lot, as you can see, but I still have quite a lot more that I want to make a, well, I was originally thinking a quilt for my bedroom, but now I have a quilt that Charlie sits on the sofa because he's a mucky pup. I don't really want him just sitting on my lovely flowery sofa. I might actually make this, because the one that he's using is quite old, and as you can imagine, quite mucky. I've washed it recently. It does wash fine, but I wonder whether this might be a sort of second sofa quilt for backup as we go through. I love this one. So there we go. So that's my other quilting project, and I'd like to get into a habit with this one of just, you know, an hour a week even, you know, or an hour in an evening during the week or something like that, going over to my sewing room and making 3 or 4 at a time. Now, what that will entail is tidying up my sewing room. That's the main reason I don't really do this. It's because it's absolute chaos. And part of the reason for that is there is just too much stuff in there. So I try and tidy it up. It gets vaguely tidy, but then as soon as I have to try and look for something, it's just chaos again, because there's nowhere to put anything and there's no room, and it's just, yeah. So, I mean, one of the sabbatical projects is going to be sort that out. But in the meantime, I need to make it so that I can make these a workable thing. I think because these have got 2 layers of fabric automatically, I would only put quite a, I think I would put a very thin batting on and piece together a pretty simple back from whatever scraps I've got left. Yeah, I think now that I've thought about that as a sofa quilt, I like that idea. And hopefully I will be motivated to get on with those. So hopefully you will see more of those later in this year, not necessarily every time, definitely not every time, but do feel free to just ask me every so often, how's the quilting going, Roz? And I'll be like, yeah, good. Make sure I get on with that. Right, so the final thing, I think I mentioned a little while ago, I had some special guests who were going to feature on a Flosstube episode, and today we have the first installment of Art with Auntie Roz. So it's not the first time we've done Art with Auntie Roz, but it's the first video of it that I've taken. And I thought I was going to try and film the whole project that we were doing, but I completely failed. What you have got here is them introducing some things we've done previously in Art with Auntie Roz, and the sort of first step, the outcome of the first step of this particular project. So this is my niece, Sophie, who's 8, and my nephew, Cameron, who is 10 for another week or so. And I'm sure Cameron would like me to tell you that he too has a YouTube channel. And if you are interested in short videos of 10-year-old boys talking about nonsense, or footballers being compared, or watching someone play Fortnite for an hour and a half, then I'm sure you'll want to subscribe. I will put him in the description below. Perhaps if you have a 10-year-old boy who also is on YouTube and would like someone to follow, they might be interested. I am not interested. I do follow him, but honestly, he just spams my feed. I mean, often there's like 2 or 3 shorts a day, and none of them have any content worth watching on. Anyway, I think Cameron will tell you about that himself in a moment. So this is Art with Auntie Roz, and with that, thank you so much for watching. I will be back next weekend with part 2 of the stitch along and the video for that, and my next Flosstube, hopefully the weekend after that. Thank you so much for watching. We've come in well under an hour, so that's perfect. See you next time. Okay, so I've got some special guests on my channel today. Who's this?
Sophie.
Sophie. And can you show us your picture, Sophie? Lift it up, that's lovely. And did you do that all by yourself?
Yes.
And how did you paint it? Do you remember? How did you get all those colours on the front all sparkly? Do you remember all of these little dots? Did you paint each one of those by hand?
No.
How did you do it?
I splattered them.
You splattered them from your paintbrush. And how did you come up with this picture?
I used shapes.
That's right. We cut out shapes, didn't we? And put them together. And what was it that you've made in your picture?
A mer alien.
A mer alien. So this is like the tail, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then how many eyes has she got?
One.
Just one eye. That's a good picture. I like that a lot. Okay, and this is our second special guest. Hiding. Who's that?
Cameron.
Cameron. And Cameron, is this your first time on YouTube?
No.
Could you move the picture so we can see a bit more of your face? Lovely. Okay, so if people want to find you elsewhere on YouTube, where would they look?
Camcrofter1234.
Camcrofter1234. And is that also full of art?
No.
What sort of things will they find on your YouTube channel?
Memes.
Memes. How many views did your top viewing video get?
10,000.
And what was that about?
Ronaldo and Messi, the GOATs.
The GOATs, Ronaldo and Messi. So who would be most interested? Is it just for 10-year-old boys, your channel?
No.
Who else would be interested in it?
People.
Okay, if you're a person, you've heard it here first, you should go and check that out. Okay, tell us about your picture. It's gold. I'm getting some good reflection on the gold.
It's I don't know what it is. It's something with whatever that shape is.
Okay.
Oval. And you can see it in all of its beauty.
Yeah, and you did the splatting as well, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And what are the little bits sticking off the end? Did you put in those with paintbrush or did you use one of your Posca pens? Can you remember?
What do you...
The little hairy bits.
I use those with one of your Posca pens.
Oh, one of my Posca pens, but you have got some Posca pens,
Yes,
haven't
I
you?
have.
But I have the metallic ones. Good. So what are we going to do today?
First, I'd like to advertise my books, Stum the Dumb.
Stum the Dumb.
Yes.
Where would anyone get hold of that, Cameron? What's it about?
It's about a really stupid cat
A stupid cat.
who has two owners, Mr. Trumpington and Mrs. Trumpington.
Yeah.
And then...
do
in one of
exciting
the
things
books-
happen?
Yes, exciting things happen, of course. And then in one of the books, no, two, a new one's coming out soon.
Wow.
One of the books has Wallace and Gromit in.
Does it?
That's Stum the Dumb 3, Lost in... No, what? Stum Goes to Space, that's the one.
Some goes to space. Okay, and where will people find these amazing books?
They could go to the Green in Weston.
The Green in Weston. Okay, so you have to be quite local to get hold of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. Good. Well, we'll put all that information below. So today we are going to be doing some clay. And we haven't done clay together before. Have you done clay at school?
Yeah.
In forest school.
Okay, and you've made things from it. And I know you've painted things from clay before as well, haven't you?
Oh yeah, we just made some real clocks.
Oh,
And
okay.
also last year we made faces out of them.
Wow.
We
One
made
of the-
faces out of them too.
I've got a face in there. Do you want me to show it?
In a minute,
And-
just tell me, you went on a special school trip somewhere
we
all to do
made
with clay,
pots.
didn't you? Pots. Do you remember what that was
Hanley
called?
Museum.
Hanley Museum. Was it the Gladstone Museum that you went to? Or was it just called Hanley Museum?
I really didn't pay
No,
attention.
okay, but it was
there
where
was a Spitfire there.
there was a Spitfire there, but it was mostly pottery, wasn't it? Yeah.
When we had lunch, we sat next to the Spitfire.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
We went in the Spitfire in my class.
Wow.
Because we were the big year 5.
But now you're in year 6.
Now we're the giant year 6.
And you're in the beautiful year 4s. Yeah.
The year
Okay.
4s aren't that beautiful.
Well,
They're
I think we'll see.
annoying.
Okay, so I'm going to get out the clay. Why don't you go and get the things you've made out of clay before? Okay, so these are our first clay objects. Cameron, which did you make?
This one,
And what is it?
a dumpling,
A dumpling with,
legs,
and is that a
a
face?
face. You can just barely make
And what
it
sort
out.
of dumpling is it? What do you think's inside?
Beef.
Beef dumpling with legs. Sophie, what have you made?
A turtle.
Can you just point out where's the turtle's face and where are its legs? Lovely. And if you put some shaping on the back, Yeah, so what are we going to do with these next week?
Paint them.
Paint them. We're going to leave them to dry for a week, aren't we? And then we'll paint. What colour will yours be, Cameron?
That colour, what's it called? That colour that they use on dumplings.
The colour they use on dumplings. What colour do you think you might do yours, Sophie?
Green.
Green, that'll be lovely. Okay.